Evening, one and all. Thank you for coming. We'll get the usual stuff out of the road. If you want to donate, all the links is in the description. My other channels in there if you want to follow them, and my other channels on different platforms such as Odyssey and stuff is on there too. Without further ado, there's Gavin Salmons and Harold Stewart's in. Horus is actually in the chat. He's supposed to be in here, but me and my co-host Jackz have the famous Mr. Horus. So a lovely big H in the chat for Horus. It's good to come along and chat to us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Horus, mate.
Evening, lads. A bit of a celebrity introduction.
And how are you? How's your weekend been?
I'm all right. Yeah. Well, a bit busy for a weekend. Just working on something that needs doing. Can't wait till a week.
All enjoying those little extra increments of daylight that are creeping in.
Yeah. Days are
lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting to nearly 6 p.m. now before it's proper dark.
It's a really inspiring time of year for me. I do a lot of driving around the countryside and that, so I see all the life coming back with animals and the bushes and the flowers and all that. I know it sounds a bit homosexual, but I enjoy that. It puts a nice feeling in my heart, warms my cockles, as they say. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. I've been out in the countryside looking at lambs.
No, hold on. Tell them what you've seen mowing the lawn, with the lawn.
I was in. Where was I?
You'll not believe this, Horus.
I was. Where did I go? It was quite rural Ireland. Where was I again? Oh, I was down near Blackrock. Blackrock, yeah. So I was down south, Dundalk. There you go. And it's quite rural, but there's like a house. They dot these housing estate everywhere. And I pulled up because I needed to plumb in some directions on my Google map and that. And there was an African family, quite obviously African family, in their front garden. And the mum was stood there with the bin bag open. And there was a dude, one of her sons on the ground with a dustpan and brush sweeping up the grass. And there was one with a big broom sweeping the grass as well, which I thought was quite a novel way of cleaning up your lawn.
Were they getting it done? Was it working?
I think there was probably a more practical and a more efficient way, but if they were having fun, who am I to deny them that? That's the main thing, isn't it?
Tidying up in one move, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I guess you'll have a few people on it. Most people on here will know who you are already, Horus. That's just factual. But for anyone who we've managed to pick up from crossover streams from, say, Off Grid Island and various people we've had on, when did you sort of come around as sort of making videos for YouTube in the style that you do, if I may ask?
2019. It was. I'd been thinking about it already, but there was this big flare up at the time in the sort of between civic and ethnic nationalists, and by that point, I was already on the ethno side, and I decided to start making videos to that effect. Really, of aimed at civic nationalists, and then just anyone who will watch them, really. But people who are already leaning in our direction, really.
Okay, that's fair enough. I remember you actually. Go carry on.
I don't have any hope of converting communists or anything like that, so I don't try and make stuff for everyone, but anyone who's at least open to listening to it.
Sort of teetering on the brink. Can sort of see what way the wind's blowing.
Yeah, or just reasonable. There are a few leftists who will watch our stuff. Perfectly open to them to watch for sure.
Well, I have to sit through their stuff to.
All day, every day from every direction. Yeah.
Do you know? If I jump in the motor and I have LBC and Radio 4 and BBC Ulster plumbed in because I rage listen. But if the missus gets in the car with me, she's like, music. Because I get a bit sweary at old Nick Ferrari in the morning. That big, fat, round, gelatinous, useless prick he is.
Yeah, he's awful.
Did you hear him have a go? Did you hear him have a go at that guy who rung up? Did you hear that clip?
No.
He rang up and he just said, I'd just like to questioning the American NATO narrative, and that was it. That triggered old fucking Saint Nick, and he went off on one at this guy, like probably broke Ofcom regulations, but threatened him, literally threatened him on air. I just want just a bit of like accountability for these people in these positions. You know, it only goes one way. We know that, don't we? You're only going to get shut down if you're not part of their. You know, you're not a bootlicker. You're not a regime bootlicker like Nick Ferrari clearly is. That whole LBC mob are, in fact.
They feel like they can get away with anything.
Yeah.
GB News
Yeah.
caught out the other day. Did you see it, gentlemen?
Yeah. I will say this about GB News. They are just what the regime want us to believe is independent media, but they are just controlled establishment mouthpieces.
Yeah.
But yes, they did get caught out, Ragz. Did you have a clip of that, or was it in someone else's clip? But they were doing a live stream from. Have you seen this one, Horus? The live stream from Newquay. The newscast from Newquay about the hotel down there.
What? And the guy kind of grabs the mic for a second.
Yeah. What did you think of that? The hijack.
Well, like he speaks for the country. I mean,
100%.
A normal man. He's not a politicised fellow. He's just relating his experience, and this is. And
you know what? For someone who gate crashed in a microphone, he was awfully polite and well mannered.
Restrained, calm.
He just said, "Look, the girls around here are being offered self-defense lessons, and they're being told not to walk to school on their own, and not to walk around the town on their own. And only one thing's changed around here."
Yeah.
So again, reflecting from Land's End down to
the young girl
up to John O'Groats.
The young girl that was attacked, Jack, was advised by the school to wear trousers instead.
Right.
That was.
I mean,
what? Like, Jesus fucking Christ! You know, I know you're not allowed to swear anymore on YouTube, but.
Well, the next thing they're going to be wearing, going back to, you're going to have to wear chastity belts around town now. You know, like fucking bomb-proof chastity belts. It's crazy.
Well, Horus was on Twitter the day with your fella about immigration, and I replied to his tweet. It says, "Was England safer before 1948? Was it better or worse before 1948? You know, before all this enrichment, stabbings, grooming gangs,
acid attacks,
all this stuff going on. Was it better or worse?
Teenagers being, blancmange to a concert hall wall."
I'm glad you say 1948, Ragz, because there's a common canard you'll see on Twitter all the time that someone will post a picture of Blair and Brown and say, "Who agrees that these two men ruined the UK?" It's like, no, 97 is obviously a big falling off a cliff moment, but it was bad already. The problem goes back to at least 1948. I would even argue earlier, because there was another contingent of rather hostile foreigners who'd moved in before that have played a big role in everything that's 1948 and everything since.
Mm-hmm. And, we know what we're talking about.
And some of them resorted to gangsterism and terrible violence and criminality as well. So I think it's important always to say it goes back a long way. And we've got every right to want to reverse it. It's not just about stopping the boats. We want to repair our society, retake our land, retake our society.
Yeah.
Am I getting a bit heavy? Is this supposed to be a lighter?
No. This is we are a mixed bag, mate. We're open conversation, free flow, free form. I've got a few things written down just so I don't forget them.
But Jack, I wanted to ask you something, Jack.
Go for it.
I just want to check. Are you the same guy I was talking to about trance and stuff on?
Yes, mate. That's me. Yeah, that's me.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. No. That's me. The old trance head. Yeah.
He's a fellow DJ.
Yeah, I know. Me and Horus have talked about some stuff. I sent it some links. He goes, "You're not trying to get me back into trance, are you?"
No. I'm massively into it. No, you sent me the wrong kind, but we'll talk more about it.
Yeah. Oh, do you prefer 138 stuff then, as it's known?
I'm massively into the early 90s, like first half of the 90s stuff. That just seems
right. Okay. Yeah. So, you can't beat it,
But it doesn't mean there's not good stuff from other times as well. It's just that seems to be a gold mine. 93, 94 is incredible. But,
There's a
So
question.
anyway, talking about 1948, that was the year that 1984 was written, right? And we seem to, and it's. I mean, the parallels are obvious. If you can't see what the parallels are in that book about three super states all vying for power, sort of coming up. You know how it feels right now.
What he's written, are we including 1939 to 45 World War? No, it was before that. It was it towards the end of the First World War, Horus?
was what? Sorry.
We got an influx of certain people into Britain.
Oh, before that, between sort of 1860s up to about the 1900s, 1910s maybe. Yeah, there was an immigration restriction bill passed in Britain in about 1906, something like that. Winston Churchill strongly fought against it, and like tried to filibuster, tried to stop it going through Parliament by wasting time and challenging every possible clause of the bill, but he failed in the end. Him and I think one of the Rothschilds was sitting on the relevant committee. But yeah, they failed, and there was a restriction passed. But before that, for decades, there was a slow flood came in from the old Russian Empire.
So that would be like Hungarian and that.
Loads from Ukraine and Belarus, some from Romania, Hungary, like Czechs, but yeah, a lot from the Russian Empire. Churchill already. Whoever bought out Churchill in the 30s, he'd already been bought out for that wave of immigration by about 1905. He's already in the pocket of whoever wanted that. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there in his biographies and stuff. It's not no secret.
No, I mean, and you're very much you're very much into your history, aren't you, Horace? You do a lot of sort of reading, the heavy lifting, as they say.
You know why? Like a major part of it is because I just think whatever regime is in power now, they have got roots, and if you can pull it up at the roots, you know what I mean. You go find out what is the origin of this particular class of people ruling over us, and you find where it departed from whatever you think is better. I mean, maybe that goes back as far as 1066. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you pull it up at the roots, you know, like because otherwise you're not really getting rid of them. And, they're like a weed, you know, they're like a parasite.
That's it.
Rolling over us.
When
I say there, I'm not talking about a particular tribe. I'm talking about traitors who rule over us.
Yeah, the treasonous fucking weasels at the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. Going back, I just wanted
to. Like the woman in Newquay, you saw the councillor there, the Cornwall councillor. Everyone protesting, including that guy, like that local guy who's just concerned for his daughters. Every one of them is racist, bigoted, and whatever.
Yeah. Can't do the very sort of rudimentary mental gymnastics and just think that are not you've only got to watch them walking down the street to do the optics on them. You know, they're not the black shirts. That's what they think. That's what they think is coming down the street, don't they? That's what they try to
they don't
put the fear in people that's what's coming.
But some, I mean, like at local council level, I mean, I don't really know, but I hear that you can have some pretty dim people. Like they say that corruption is completely normal at that level, and being just an idiot is quite common as well at like local council level. So she might just be someone who she's got maybe like an IQ of like 85 or something. I don't know, but like she just sees herself very straightforwardly as part of a class of people or a network of people. And we, like in her mind, it's just we live off you, and that's the way it is. You lot are the plebs. We live off you. We rule you. You do what we say, and that's how it's going to be for all time. I think for some of them, it's as brutal and simplistic as that.
Where do you think these sort of people where do you think the seed of that ambition starts in their life? Do you think they're born? Maybe raised that way, or is it like a nature nurture thing? Because obviously not everyone who's goes into local councilling or even goes up to MP level and that they don't all come from I really don't know. I mean, some people will be brutalized by their upbringing, won't they? I mean, they just their father was horrible or their mother or whatever was horrible to them because their parents were horrible to them and so on. It gets passed down. But I mean, because some people are just brutal, aren't they? They just don't have much moral restraint at all.
And there's plenty of room for those in positions of power. Like power is, those people are suited for power. They will be unscrupulous, and therefore they will, rise. So just really brutal animal stuff like that. I mean, just, do you know what I mean? Like we three sitting there, everyone listening, we are people who believe in not being evil to people, right? But some people don't have that. Some people never develop that. You have to be taught that, I think. I don't think we're born with moral restraint. We're taught that by our parents, right? And
we're born pretty useless, aren't we? As mammals go.
And I think we're born inclined to like snatch and hit people and stuff. Like it's
You see, you look at it in toddlers. Unrestrained toddlers. You look at a group of playground aged kid, like play school age kids, when the teacher's backs are turned. Spiteful. Be spiteful. Not them all, but it can be in them for sure.
Horus, can you see the screen?
I can.
Can you see the screen?
I can see you guys, yeah.
Can you see the chat?
1 sec. Sorry, I didn't have it big. Okay.
Ragz,
please ask Horus. Should oh yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, with Leon Vizeltier, is that his name? Yeah, I have seen that. Have you guys?
No, I haven't, mate. No, I haven't seen that. I can't pass comment on that, buddy.
Yeah,
no.
Hard to explain, especially within the bounds of not getting a channel banned. But I recommend everyone watch that. It's only short. It's like 5 or 10 minutes, I think.
I imagine it's not going to be on this platform.
It might be. It might be on the Atlantic's channel. Yeah, because it's it's
is it more historical document, like sort of documentary?
It's 3 or 4 guys around a table having a chat, or I don't even know. Yeah, they're just having a chat about how like the tribe relates to Europe.
Right. Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay.
And quite obnoxious.
Right, so I was going to talk about. I mentioned 1948 and the 3 big superstates vying for power, but that was just that was really ugly, awkward segue into the. We had the 1 year anniversary. I hope we all let off our little blue and yellow party poppers, sung the Ukrainian national anthem outside. Did you see the cringe fest outside number 10 Downing Street?
I mean, I didn't actually watch any footage. Is this another case of? Do you remember when XR spray painted the treasury with fake blood? Is this another case of that? Like, there's no way you can just get away with that. That has to be allowed by the cops. I think we're in. It's theatre of the absurd, and everyone's trying to outvie each other. It seems. But do you know what I mean? Like, if you or I drives a little truck up to the treasury and starts spraying stuff all over it, we do get busted. We do get our heads cracked open, right? Whereas some people are allowed to do that. Is this a case of the latter, do you reckon?
I don't know, mate.
Okay. Or was it just a guerrilla thing where they just ran in, did it, and ran off? I don't know. But do you know what I mean? The XR guys and the Just Stop Oil guys, they have been told they can do what they want, right?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're being used as well. But to shut down all dissent.
Right.
That's my feelings of it. Anyway, they're going to be allowed to go so far until maybe someone gets killed in one of their stunts or something, or someone beats one to death, pulling them off the road, but just loses their, where an ambulance can't get past and stuff like that, which we've seen. I think they were just waiting. It's problem, reaction, solution, isn't it? That's what they're doing.
There was that thing on, was it Westminster Bridge the other day, where there was people blocking the road. Obviously, a guy got arrested for trying to drag him out of the way. Maybe at some point that'll boil over and someone will hit a cop or whatever, and that'll be on film.
Did you see the copper pushing the guy back right up to the fence?
No.
The guy who lifted the protester up.
Yeah, I did.
It was up. And again, restraint from the guy. Yeah. Because I don't know how. Because I can't. It's the finger in the chest for me. That's like a red rag to a bull.
Yeah.
Like someone doing that to me.
Yeah.
And that's what the coppers know. That's a goading movement as well, to poke someone in the chest, an adult man in the chest, right? Very much.
I laughed a little when you said that because it reminded me of that picture. Have you ever seen that picture of Evelyn de Rothschild poking Prince Charles in the chest? Well, King
yes. Yes, yes.
What the hell am I looking at? Like,
Yeah, no, it's it's been used in a lot of memes and that, isn't it? If you want to know who rules over you,
I mean, it may not actually be in his chest. Like, possibly it's a misleading photo, but it's
listen, I like to play the contrarian too, Horus. Yeah, it could have been an angle where it looked like it. It could have just had his finger dangling and all that, but no, it definitely looks like he's giving him a rollicking.
Really yeah, giving him
yeah.
a
Well, apparently Princess Anne rubbed Charles up the wrong way the other day.
Over the old is that over the old Fago? Oh, that what's it? Ngozi Famani.
The woman.
Older.
The woman, she got fired.
Lady. Nah, it's gone out of my head. See, my memory's terrible. Yeah, I know you mean Lady. No, not Lady Grey, was it? But you know we're on about Horus, don't you? At that sort of social party that they had and for the charities, and that lady asked Ngozi Famani where she's from. We know where you really from, like, you know, your heritage, because you stood here in a fucking, like, just walked out of the fucking cast of the Lion King. You know, Lady Hussey, that's it, Lady Hussey. Yeah, do you remember all that, Horus?
Yeah, I heard about it. I didn't really read.
And then they made the old lady who served the Queen for 60 years go through public humiliation ritual, apologising, sitting down and apologising, and having, like, you know, a struggle session and that.
That was the royal household who put her through that, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't the government or anything. Like, it was actually the
no. I think that was old Jug Ears and Willie did that, right. And
I'm in favour of getting rid of the Windsors. You know, I don't necessarily mind having a monarchy, but Windsors need to be put to an end. I think as the monarchs.
Who will we bring back? That's an interesting. Which bloodline will we bring back though? That's the interesting question. We go right the way. I mean, like, because Queen is apparently, I learnt today, in fact, is a direct descendant of Godwinson and the Conqueror, William the Conqueror, both the generals of the battlefield of Hastings.
I mean, I doubt Godwinson's claim should have been acknowledged either, but maybe further back, or we elect a line, but then keep it. Maybe.
Or we end up with something like King Ralph. Ten-pin bowling king.
That's a great early 90s reference there, mate.
Oh, it is, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, the old the bit of skirt in that, I don't know, she's probably an old bird now, but with her stupid, like, fake Cockney accent, and as a young teenage boy, I used to think she was a right little tasty number. I don't know if you can remember her.
Well, yeah, I mean, I probably watched it once when I was a little kid, but
yeah. Oh, it's stupid. But that guy who plays the big fella, I forget his name. He's a good bloody actor though.
John Goodman.
That's it. I'm just, honestly, those little references used to just be there like a synapse fire. Boom, John Goodman. But I don't know. He's gone in the last couple of years. It's terrible. So yeah, Ukraine in general then, Horus, mate. The grift that keeps on grifting. It's another $500 million from the US taxpayers, and Rishi Sunak promising God knows what in military. And it's clearly gone from defensive to offensive weapons now, hasn't it? So that line's been crossed now.
I mean, I noticed these pledges of more money keep getting smaller because obviously the US has already given $160 billion or more.
More than the Russians spent on the initial invasion, yeah.
Right, of which I presume about 1% actually does any good to Ukraine.
Well, it keeps it because America have pledged all of the defense systems and the missile systems, air defense systems, drones, bullets, mortars, shells, rockets, missiles. That keeps the American war machine afloat. It's like on, it's built on sand. They have to send the money out of the country to keep the money going in their country. Do you understand what I mean? It's a wartime. They're built around a wartime based economy, perpetual war.
I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't really see it like that. I think
that's fair enough.
I think they're doing it. I mean, there's a certain degree of chaos, I think, right? So you got the neoconservatives who are the ones who really caused all this. They've been driving at it for ever since they've existed, right? They've been driving.
Yeah, and 2014 was the pivot point, wasn't it?
Well, I'm surprised how many people say that as well, because that's certainly pivotal. Yeah, sorry, but like the story should also mention that previous Orange Revolution, which was
the color revolution. Yeah.
There's one was the orange one, and that was
right.
About 2005 or 6, when Yushchenko was voted in, but then he got poisoned. People said that was due to Russia, and that was a crucial. That obviously poisoned relations between the two countries as well.
So you've always had like it seems to shift like we do between like.
It's the same kind of people driving at it, right? I didn't know. I never heard of these names like Victoria Nuland until about 2014. I mean, she seems to be like the key driver of it all, but also the Kagan family, who were also behind the Iraq War and other wars. But in Britain, I first noticed it because I had a new job and I had nothing to do at lunchtimes, and I just started reading the Times newspaper for a little while. I couldn't stand it. And I noticed, I mean, I'd read, I wasn't big into the news, but I read a few other papers, and I noticed the Times seemed to speak for, I don't know if it's MI6 or the military or something, but they seem to speak for anti-Russian forces. And we're talking, intelligence agents or military intelligence or something. They seem to speak for that. I mean, a lot of the reports in the Times are just intelligence sources say, as in, MI6 literally just hands the journalist a statement and just says, "Can you put that in better words or whatever?" Like
that's our version of Operation Mockingbird, then.
Yeah, and except it never ended. Yeah, although Mockingbird never ended either. I mean,
Mockingbird never ended either. No, that's for sure.
So I mean, the Times does that. It's not only them; the Guardian does it as well. The Independent, I think, does it. But the Times especially, they seem to speak for the pro-war, anti-Russian forces. And I could tell in 2005, even though I was very naive back then, that there was an agenda very, very clearly being pushed, and it was anti-Russian. And they used, as soon as the Litvinenko thing happened, they leapt on it. I mean, that was manna for them. Do you remember that? It was the defense.
I remember the picture of him there in his bed, like the photo op. Dying.
Yeah.
Of course, you had the other fella in Salisbury as well with his daughter.
These are all really strange incidents because, like, I could well believe that Russia wanted to kill these guys and may have done so, but why do it with these means? Like, why use polonium and all this stuff? It's so strange. Is it
sending a message? Is it? I'm just again contrarian here. Is like, are they trying to portray a message? We can get anyone at any time, and.
But why use these radioactive materials to kill? It's like they're playing up to some sort of Cold War stereotype myth or something.
Red Fox,
Yeah. It's like they're playing
do you remember in the 80s, the guy on, I think it might have been London Bridge, he got the pellet put in his leg with the umbrella, poison tip umbrella.
The Bulgarians did it apparently, that one, in the Cold War, in the 50s, was it?
That was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Sorry, okay, there was another one, sorry.
It was a poison tip umbrella, and they just dinked it into the back of his leg, and it had some sort of radioactive pellet in it.
Right. So that is actually used as a means of murder. Okay.
Like something that you in a film, you'd be like, "Oh wow, what do you see how they got what?" Like when he'd go and see Q and he'd have all these little gadgets and stuff like that. Here's your poison tip umbrella, James.
Okay, so maybe it was. I mean, certainly there is a somewhat persuasive case that these things are done by Russia. But I've seen, Ryan Dawson, who is extremely knowledgeable, he says that no, Russia didn't kill Litvinenko. I don't think Skripal either. So I don't know. Ryan Dawson tends to get things right. I don't know if you guys have ever watched him.
So could these be like false flag events from other nations trying to blame Russia? So like you've done so trying to associate Russia with an event that's happened on, say, British soil or another sovereign territory soil, but it's done by a third party, like.
Yeah, both of them could be. I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
But I know that, there's a clear anti-Russian narrative coming out of the Times and other papers, and lots of politicians who are, doing it to a specific agenda going back the last 20 years. I noticed it in 2005, and it's been building ever since. And that's not to excuse what Russia have done. I mean, It's very easy to fall into this, position of being pro-Russian, but no, I don't have much love for Putin's government.
I'm not pro either of them, mate, and I haven't been, but I do see it as the proxy war that it is.
Yeah,
I
mean, I noticed also. I started watching RT, Russia Today, in about 2007ish, and that was like really anti-Western as well. I hated that, so I don't like all that stuff either.
Yeah.
Troublemakers.
Yeah. That's how he died. He had some British processed food.
That's funny. Findus crispy pancakes. I sometimes use that as like a byword for shit food.
Yeah, 3 of them in a week, you glow in the dark. There you go.
Do you know what? I used to eat super noodles like 2 or 3 times a week. That's such bad food, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, crap. Yeah. I
teach my kids to fucking cook.
Ramen, isn't it? Ramen is the food of the absolute destitute.
Pot noodles.
Yeah, those dried noodles. I mean, they're still the only food that hasn't really gone up in price. You can still get like 5 packs of 30p, what is this stuff?
You get like Asda's own brand or whatever, Lidl's own.
More nutrition in the packaging, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So Biden had his big photo up.
Does
Bootneck want to come on, does he?
Hold on. Yeah, Bootneck, I'll throw it in the chat.
You don't mind Bootneck coming on, do you, Horus? No,
it's fine.
No, he's a good guy. Do you know him? Have you heard of him?
I don't. I think I might have seen him on Twitter or something.
Yeah, he's a good lad. Yeah, we'll shoot him a link if he wants to come in. But yeah, Biden had his big photo up, didn't he, in Ukraine, didn't he? Do you think that was? I've heard people saying that he did that purely to offset the big State of the Union speech that Putin was doing, so just to deflect some of the attention away from it, so all eyes wouldn't have been on that. And did you see it there? Like, it don't matter what brand of sunglasses you put on that dude, what sort of smart suit you put him in, he still shuffles along like an old man who shit himself.
Honestly,
and
Matt,
you're right, Matty. And he it's just an embarrassment. I think he's a national embarrassment, and the way he talks, he can't. It's all very weak sounding. Like I remember when my dad was passing away. That's how Biden talks, with just no energy.
Here's one for you. What's this with Zelensky on every interview, and you were parading him in London, and they were giving him a helmet, and Rishi Sunak looked like Bill and Bay in the flower pot man, and he's always like this.
He is a helmet, isn't he?
They look like, I said last week, they look like 2 boys who'd won a competition, didn't they?
Have you guys seen the video of them two walking up? No, sorry, of Biden and Zelensky walking upstairs today. I think it's in Kiev, and there's another Zelensky behind him. Have you seen this? It's on Twitter. I can't remember what account I saw it on. But
I haven't seen that. I think he's like Idi Amin, and he's got clones following him about.
Yeah,
body doubles. Well, old the Austrian painter had a few, didn't he? Be surprised.
Saddam Hussein apparently had loads, according to the newspapers, anyway.
Oh, when certain men get to an age in that area, they all look like Saddam Hussein.
Apparently, Hitler was he was so into like getting things accurate that all of his body doubles had 1 testicle as well. Who am I talking to here, by the way? Who's the new fella?
He's not a new lad. He's been around a long time. This is Horus, mate.
Hi, Bootneck. How you doing?
Horus, nice to meet you. All right.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Are you from the northeast?
Yeah, if you can't tell, I've got quite well spoken, so it's difficult to pin me down, isn't it?
Bootneck lives out in California. He's our roving reporter.
I was going to say, you're blessed with sunlight.
Yeah. Fucking hell. The sun doesn't come out in Middlesbrough. There's too much smog. I can't get through the.
What's has there been some storms there recently, Matty?
Yeah, it's been absolutely belting it down for about a week.
I can't believe that hasn't been on the news, and I can't believe that hasn't been on the news. You poor guys.
Yeah. 11 and a half months a year of perfect weather, and now we have to have a wind.
Yeah. God, yeah. I mean, the cameras really should be on you lot, I'd imagine.
There's very little mention of the train wreck in America now.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
basic.
Well, I don't want to start talking about American politics instantly. What were you guys talking about? I mean, I only caught.
Oh well, we were in Ukraine. We'd done a little bit of the history of the background of the colours revolution, and then the obvious coup d'état in 2014 with Victoria Nuland and stuff like that. And we're just talking about that. And where's if Biden's just pledged. Now, would you say, Matty, as our roving reporter on the ground in America, that public support for the Ukraine war is waning?
Definitely. It's nowhere near as high as they make out on the media. And I live in California, and when I went to the pub like last night, I reckon 7 out of 10. So there was a few blokes who said, no, we can't leave them. But I reckon most are like, yeah, fuck them. There's a load of people who have just had it. I think the general public are a lot more switched on than the elite honestly think. They think if they just push the narrative on CNN and on the BBC that people are just complete planks and they'll take it as it stands. And the fact of the matter is, there's a massive group of people in the United States that it's not even really partisan, but are basically isolationists who think that everywhere we've gone in the last 30 years has been a demonstrable fucking chaos. So we shouldn't keep doing it. You can't look at Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and fucking everywhere else and go, yeah, you know what we should keep doing? Fucking around in the rest of the world.
You can rewind that 30 years back as well. Korea,
probably
Vietnam.
Longer. Probably longer.
I
mean, to me, that's irrefutable evidence. I don't think it needs to be. If I was pushing this if I was to make a political content about it and try and push that people in my way of thinking, I'd just say that. I think you don't have to be left or right, or Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative across the pond or whatever. You just have to look at the results of the last 40 years of American interventionism and say, we've fucking killed millions of women and kids screwing about in the rest of the world. And if the Russians achieve their aims, annex, I don't know what it would actually be, because it's a complex debate, but there's a lot of those regions in the very east of Ukraine who clearly are pro-Russian. So how much
that like Luhansk and Donetsk and
places where
Donbass,
and they are ethnic Russians and they speak
ethnically Russian, yeah.
And I'm not saying that Putin should have fucking invaded them, but ultimately there is a middle ground, and that's not what the media give you. The middle ground it's a complicated issue. We've pushed the borders of eastern Ukraine for years. There was indeed a coup in 2014, February 2014. Right, it's undeniable. So
also there was the accord that was broken as well, right? Because they continued shelling. So there were many reasons he could have invaded, but it.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, though, rather than getting into the weeds on it, you just have to keep things simplistic and say whether or not you agree with, because it's childish as well, when everyone's like, oh, you're just Putin's, calling people like Peter Hitchens, like an old English bloke, and they're like, oh, he's sucking Putin's cock and all this type of childish shit. Just have to say, liberal or conservative, is it complicated? Yes. And would it be better served if they got peace? Yes. Would less people die if they went to the table and we gave them a little bit of ground and that ended hostilities? I mean, there's 100,000 people dead out there, or thereabouts is the best guess. And if you want that to stop, you need to fucking come to the table. And that's what I've constantly told you guys about when I discussed the Northern Ireland issue, right? Because I know a lot about that. I spent so much time out there and I read so many books about it during my military career. It was like, it's complicated. And we had to eat a massive shit sandwich when we signed the Good Friday Agreement, and all the British soldiers who served out there were pissed off. And a lot of the dyed-in-the-wool Ulstermen who feel strongly about it were pissed off because we let out fucking scumbags who'd shot innocent people or killed British soldiers, and we let them roam the fucking streets and have the freedom. That's the price you pay for peace. If you're not both taking a bite of a shit sandwich, you're not having a peace deal. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, we have to accept that we might have to accede to some of the Russians' requests. Is that not better than fucking spending hundreds of billions of dollars and murdering fucking people for another 10 years, however long it's going to go on?
Well, when you put it as simply as that, Matty, you know.
Mally and Horus. Now, our conflict here in the north was between two religious groups. It was actually a political war. It wasn't anything to do with religion a lot of the time. But in saying that, there it was between our own people. Now our government is inviting people in that shouldn't be here, and they're starting their own wee wars within the communities. Now, I'll start Horus off on this one, then I'll go to Matt. Your thoughts, Matt, or Horus?
Sorry, I got stuck on mute. I thought I might ask you something about that. I mean, is there a chance that, I mean, this rather assumes a lot, but is there a chance that the shared need of Northern Irish people and Irish people to basically turn back the tide, could that bring them together? Could that actually help there be some sort of proper lasting settlement between, you know, Northern Ireland and Ireland?
Well, I don't know. You threw me with the last bit of that question there, but there's definitely a lot of collaboration now between people that normally wouldn't even give each other the time of day. I've seen that.
Yeah,
I'll let you carry on with that, answering that question, Ragz, because I couldn't answer the last bit there. Could it be a final? No, that's not the final.
No. I mean, sorry. Sorry. What I meant was like
that was me. That was my fault.
No.
Could it be the answer, right?
I mean, like, well, could it just foster the practice of working together on something, and that could lead to something much, you know, better and a longer lasting sort of, I don't know exactly, a common future for Northern Ireland.
Well, there is that, Horus, but there's a man in the chat there who knows the history of this island better than the back of his hand. And as he says, the GFA needs thrown out. GAF, sorry. I get it. Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and all them people. You know, there's Irish people that talk to me all the time, and we have clear goals that we want our homeland for our people and our children. And you can read the 14 words type thing to them, and they'll go, "Wow, that sounds good." But as soon as the collaboration's over, they're straight back wanting to unite Ireland and get rid of us. So you can't really have a collaboration there, can you?
Short term, you can though, can't you? Is the only thing. I mean, just giving you my what seems to me to be like as an English bloke, we haven't got as big a dog in this hunt, have we? But like to me, surely, like if you're a dyed in the wool Sinn Féin type of bloke, and you've got to choose between I don't know. An English bloke, there's a lot of anti-English sentiment from the dyed-in-the-wool Republicans in Ireland, isn't there? But I'm sure if a load of Geordies turn up for a fishing holiday, they're not quite as hostile towards them as they would be to 50 beardy weirdies in prayer mats outside the fucking mosque on a Friday night. To me, that's just logical. Like, I don't see how that wouldn't affect what Horus is saying. I don't see how that wouldn't affect people's relations. Like, you know, you can get back to scrapping about your sectarianism or whatever, republicanism and nationalism after you've dealt with a fucking bloke who's diddling the kids above a kebab shop, surely. Or am I just being simplistic there?
I mean, well,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, like it should have had that effect already. Like same in Britain, you know, and same all over the West. I mean, obviously there will still be some people who don't know how bad, you know, the effects of immigration are. But you would think by now that it already would have stimulated some sort of solidarity. You know, that there's divisions in England as well. So, but yeah, so, I'm sort of negating your point and my own point there. So sorry, I'll hand back to Ragz. Go on. Ragz, sorry, yeah, I thought you were gonna.
Sorry, no, I was just saying something there. No, it was. I've spoken to a group called Off Grid Ireland, and they're all about these East Wall protests and all, and they're reporting on the assaults of young girls in Ireland, and I think was there one killed in Waterford, and then there was 2 gay fellas last year or the year before butchered in, I think it was Cork. Your man tried to beheaded the pair of them. And these boys were, you know, they weren't Irish people. They were brought into the country. Then there was a report there the day we were watching, and they met a crime. As soon as they commit a crime, they tell the police they want to be returned to their own homeland. They're still here. It was Bonnie Ladd reported that earlier on. 2 or 3 years down the line, after them serving time in prison, they're still here. But they want to go home back to Afghanistan. So,
Yeah. So we're actually keeping them hostage now.
That's another thing as well, though, isn't it? I mean, because you've got people like, old-fashioned middle-aged people in the UK and Ireland who would be anti-gay sort of thing. Guardian readers has called them homophobic. Most of them aren't really homophobic. They're just sort of like the average old bloke, like my dad. My dad's not homophobic. He just doesn't like or trust them. He's not interested in going out and beating anybody up. He just goes, look at them bloody woofers. And that's the end of it. And he's entitled to his fucking opinion. And what I'm getting at is that's another example of what we're talking about the enemy of your enemy being your friend. Would your average, normal, slightly homophobic middle-aged man be pleased or fucking outraged about hearing about some jihadi lopping 2 gay blokes' heads off? He's going to be absolutely appalled, isn't he? Yeah. I've mild distaste for gay men bumming each other, but he's got much greater level of distaste for foreign-born jihadis. And this is what I'm talking about. I feel as if it's kind of obvious to me that there's a pecking order of how much you have in common with somebody. And if you're a Republican, an Irish Republican, surely by fuck, on your pecking order, you've got strong-willed Ulstermen slightly higher in your opinion than fucking Bangladeshi blokes who think women should have to wear a bin liner over the fucking head. Surely, I mean, or do they feel that strongly about it? I don't know. It just to an English bloke, it seems fucking totally logical. I don't like Mackems, but fuck me, I like them a lot better than Moroccans. I mean, it's not. Is it?
Oh, good one. I like that one.
There's so much. Here's a question for all three. Now, since 1948, and Horus will say since before that, since the early 1800s, Britain has had the slow boiling frog effect. But Ireland has literally been, the frog has literally been dropped in a fucking frying pan while it's still like it's red hot, and they're reacting. But now their government is now saying that they're all far right. People protesting in England at these hotels that are housing migrants, illegal migrants with no documentation or anything like that. There, these people pushing prams with babies in them are all far right.
Far right mammies.
Far right mammies.
Yeah.
There's a wee granny in Dublin at one of the marches, and she was with the daughter. The daughter was pushing the pram. The granny was there, and the husband was there, and the whole family was there. So all that is the face of the far right in Ireland. Same as in England. Your man was caught out on GB News. This far right contingency protesting against illegal immigration, and the wee fella just come up and told him. No, they're not.
Yeah, seen that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was GB News. They dropped a few pegs, or dropped a few pegs in my listings. They're supposed to be for the people of Britain, reporting real news. No, they're not.
Oh, I talked to you earlier, Ragz. They want us the establishment want us to believe that's the alternative choice we've got to legacy media, but they're just part of they're allowed to say what they're allowed to say. The legacy media, just like the rest of them.
Well, sure, your man spoke out on it. What did you call him? Mark.
Well, they're all gone, aren't they? Anyone they've had a shake-up, haven't they? Mm-hmm. Recently, anyone who's said anything mildly controversial on there has gone, and I think Neil Oliver's going to be next.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
go ahead, Horus.
Oh, well, just that attack on Neil Oliver, that the Guardian and the Board of Deputies made, that seems to have bounced off. Maybe I'm just being naive, but it seemed like that failed. Right? Mark Stein.
Was that what they were calling him anti-Semitic?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing with that is Mark Stein actually is a proper conservative, so I'm assuming if you really dig out blind and find some good ammunition for your hit job, you'll be able to find it on Mark Stein. Neil Oliver's another one of these wet liberals, really. I mean, his whole career, Neil Oliver was struck me as like a Labour twat, really. He's not. I'm saying I love the bloke now. He's clearly a massive ally of ours because he's now an old school sort of centre left, reasonable sort of patriotic bloke. But he is nowhere near the same kind of conservative as someone like Mark Stein is. So I think they'd have difficulty smashing Neil Oliver. I mean, he worked for the BBC for fucking years.
Just walking around Britain.
Yeah, he's a reasonable sort of. He's an old school liberal, that fella.
Did he not work with Tim Robinson on that team thing?
Tony Robinson. Now he's definitely.
Yeah, and he's a proper fucking lefty, isn't he? So I'm saying they'll have a lot harder time cancelling him than they will.
Horus, you're like this when old Alan Partridge goes, good bloke, don't like his politics, though.
Looks like a geography team. Yeah. Because Neil Oliver used to annoy me. I remember watching Coast about 20 years ago and he made some snarky comment about how Scotland was like, the leader of the British Empire or some shit. And I thought, he was a bit of an annoying sort of Scottish nationalist back in the day. But at this point, he's a massive ally of ours. I definitely think that they'll struggle to cancel him. Mark Stein, I've been a fan of for years, and he really is a conservative. Mark Stein, he used to fill in for Rush Limbaugh, you know what I mean? And compared to fucking 99% of them English conservatives, Rush Limbaugh's like fucking Adolf. So Mark Stein's actually conservative, so they'll have been chomping at the bit to get rid of him. Neil Oliver, he'll probably have a lot more gas in the tank, I think.
That's fair comment. But did you want to say something, Horace?
I didn't no, but they would probably make a lot of more people upset by getting rid of Neil Oliver. He's seen as a nicer guy. Mark Stein's always been seen as a little bit militantly right wing, hasn't he? Like he's always been against Islam and stuff. Neil Oliver, that is going to cost them a lot more credibility. I mean, this is the case with a lot of things happening at the moment, isn't it? That the regime has got to consider how much each move they make costs them credibility-wise, right? So the way they reacted to Knowsley the other week, right? That was a fuck up. That was a costly. They just termed essentially millions of people across the country far right. That's a mistake. You can't keep doing that. So Mark Stein would have cost them only a little credibility. Neil Oliver costs a lot more. And getting rid of people who look reasonable, seem like nice guys, got a little grey beard and whatever. Like Neil Oliver because he comes across quite middling and a little bit libertarian. Like libertarianism is kind of in fashion in a way. At the moment, because a lot of people are against the World Economic Forum and the vaccine mandates, and
that's the ship he's on, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's a sort of safe libertarian in that sense. Like so to boot him in the face makes you look worse. Yeah.
So, Booty, you mentioned the Scottish National Party, didn't you, a moment ago? I'm sure you did. So that could be a nice little, another awkward little segue into. I wanted to talk about Kate Forbes and the reaction that she got this week by speaking about her personal opinion on certain topics, including same-sex marriages and babies born out of wedlock and stuff like that. They're her own opinions. She said she'd never force someone over. They're just her religious beliefs, her faith, and. But the man who's likely to become the SNP leader, Humza Yousaf, would also like to hear his opinion on gay marriage. I think that's only fair. What do you reckon about that, then? Go on, Booty.
How much of a twat is he, Humza? I absolutely hate that bloke. Well, I've said this for years. I think the SNP are commies. I've been saying this for years. The SNP are fucking commies. Marxists, whatever you want to call them, the SNP, what they've basically done is, right, the other nationalists in the United Kingdom, so Plaid Cymru as well, and the SNP, they spent so many years slagging off nationalism when the only real nationalist movement you had was in England, probably linked to rank Anglophobia. But they spent so many years decrying nationalism as being the worst thing ever. That when they suddenly started doing it, they had to pin it to something else to go along with it. So they made their nationalism far left, and they pinned it inexorably to their movement. So what's gone wrong there is once they've gone all in, balls deep with the fucking far left, they've had to follow them wherever they've gone. I'm sure ultimately people like Humza really couldn't give a flying fuck about something like women's rights or LGBT rights, because we all know what his background is. And them lads aren't famous for the fucking tolerance for people that bum each other, right? So I think we know what the crack is with Humza, but they've gone all in now and they can't do a 180 now. So the entire nationalist movement in Wales and Scotland is inexorably far left. It's commie shit. And this is what I talked to you guys about like last time I was on with you. Ultimately, the nationalists in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland need to realize, or the Republicans, it's confusing when you get Northern Ireland, the Republicans over there, need to accept that they need to decide who they hate the fucking most, because they might think they hate the English and the posh eating-out wankers who run England. But if you have to choose between, we're talking about your enemies being your friends there. If you have to choose between English wankers, if you're Scottish or Welsh or Northern Irish, or full-blown commies, I'd suggest you fucking suck it up and put your arm around an Englishman, because I know I'd rather hang out with. And it ain't the commies.
As long as you're buying the beers.
Yeah, well, I'm not Scottish, so I'll buy you a pint.
Mm. What do you reckon, Horus? How they've covered that story with Kate Forbes?
Do you know what? My mind just goes straight to like every one of these issues, right? Obviously, the real answer should be she can fucking say what she wants, and Humza Yousaf is not the standard to compare her to, and in fact, he shouldn't even be in Britain, let alone running for office or anything. Obviously, she should be able to say her Christian beliefs, and that should be normal, completely ordinary. But what you get on our side of things is you get these leading voices who've got a big media platform, got hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, they get on GB News and whatever, and they'll just say, oh, well, it's like you can't be a Christian anymore. And then they just leave it at that. They don't say there's anything wrong with it. They don't say anything should be done to resolve it or roll back, the progress of the anti-Christian, anti-British forces. They just say, oh, well, they'll just complain.
Yeah.
You get these useless voices everywhere. I mean, that's what GB News is stuffed with, right? Mark Stein had a bit of teeth, had a little bit of teeth, and they got rid of him. But yeah, like you won't get anybody who's militantly let's take back the power, So there's always that, and it's just so that's why you're in constant retreat. There's a real left and a fake right. When it comes to what Bootneck said about the SNP as well, it just reminded me of, you remember Jack? I used to do a show with Simon Harris a few years ago.
Yeah.
He was he was an English guy from Nottinghamshire, but he'd moved out to Barcelona. And he when he moved out, he only got into our kind of politics a few years before I first spoke to him, like in the sort of mid-2010s. Before that, he supported the Catalan nationalist movement. And he said he watched it turn from what was basically a real nationalism, sort of based on Catalan culture, obviously, and their differences with the Spanish, which is why they wanted to have their own sovereignty. He said he watched that get taken over by literally agents of Soros, like not even using that as a metaphor. Like they came in from Open Society Foundation organizations and they took over. They displaced the whole previous leadership, denounced them all as far right or whatever. That's probably what's happened with the SNP. I don't think the SNP in like the 60s or 70s was this was this pro-trans transgender movement or whatever,
Exactly.
ludicrous. And for them, for the people of the Scottish nationalists of the 60s, to watch someone like Humza Yousaf walk in and start telling everyone what's what would just be ludicrous. He wouldn't even get in the room.
No, that's what I mean. So imagine if you're a Catalan separatist and your whole movement was about because we're all nationalists of varying streaks, aren't we? I'm an English nationalist. I fucking love England. I've talked about how it's an outgoing circle, isn't it? And it's totally logical. That is the analogy I use. The people most important to you are your immediate family, your wife, your kids. And then it's your best mates. And then it's your neighbours. And then it's your town. Because, Borough, it's fuck the Geordies. But I like Geordies, really. I like them more than French people. It's an outgoing circle. It goes like that, and it's totally logical. So it's and then you like your town, and then you like your region, and then you like your country, and then you like Europe, right? Like fucking Europeans more than I like random blokes from fucking Abu Dhabi. And that's the way it goes. And imagine if you're a Catalan nationalist and you fucking love your culture and you're promoting Catalonian culture and cuisine and that. And the next thing, George Soros and his boys take over and they're like, oh, yeah, we like Catalan, but suck your granddad off. That's the type of shit they come out with. And I'd be like, what the fuck's going on here? So then I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's be pals with the Spaniards again. That's what I'd be like, and this is what I'm saying. Like,
oh yeah, well they made Catalan nationalism about being a better part of the EU, a better state of the EU.
Fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. If you're a Catalan nationalist, you've got to feel closer to a Spaniard than a fucking Frenchman or a German. Or fucking Jean-Claude Juncker, the Belgian fucking paedophile Downey. So I just think it's ridiculous. Like it's to me, it's like I said, using the family, neighbours, city analogy, it's obvious, and I think that the weakness now of the Marxist types, the globalist types, is just focusing on that. If we could just direct people that have always considered themselves to be passionate Northern Irish or Welsh or Scottish or Catalan or anything else nationalists, and just remind them that ultimately they've got far, far more in common with the people that they once thought they had some distance from than the ones who want to take over the fucking world and just turn the entire planet into a gigantic shit country. Because that really is where we're all headed, isn't it? It's the globalists want it like that. The whole fucking planet is just going to be one big shit country with no difference, and everybody's blended in. And there's no like Japan's not Japanese, Scotland's not Scottish, and fucking Ireland's not Irish. It's just shit. And I've always been a big believer in that. The enemy, if your enemy's your friend. I really feel that. Like me and Ragz talked about the Irish git on Twitter. You know, he's obviously a chippy Irish Republican, but I bet you me and him agree on fucking 8 out of 10 issues.
I mean, if we were to see over the next few years, like English and Irish people start to work together who previously used to curse each other, man, what that'd be healing centuries old scars, man. And that's, you know, there's a lot of potential to things like that. I mean, our enemies don't want to see that for good reason, because that is worrying to them, that is disturbing to them, and they're right to be.
And I think they're doing it on purpose. My missus, she couldn't find the story, but I talked about it on one of my streams last week. She said she read it somewhere. And I think it was a piece saying what conspiracy theories that people think might be true. And fucking hell, in this day and age, it's half of them in it. But basically, it was this writer saying the conspiracy is that the globalist elites that run the world saw in the mid-noughties that the general public were getting pissed off of the way things are going, i.e., everyone of our age and above, I don't know how old your man is, but anyone over the age of about 35 can remember and knows that things have visibly got worse in the last sort of 10, 15 years. They're slowly chipping away at our quality of life. And the elites realised what was happening. So they've purposely restarted up the sort of, not even just race wars, but sectarianism. Any form of minor fracas that can bring up about people in a certain area is good for them, because it'll take the proles' eyes off the people that are pulling the strings. And I think that's definitely visible with regards to race in the last 4 or 5 years. Like I've noticed probably since Trump, like every day now I see videos on Twitter and Facebook of like black blokes like kicking fuck out of like little white girls or little Asian women or something. And I really feel like they've massively ramped up the race baiting for that reason, because it's like, in the 90s and in the noughties, it felt like we'd actually made a lot of progress on that type of shit. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, we were all like watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and listening to shit rap music and not worrying about people's ethnicity as much as we were worrying about their nationality and where they felt passionate about, you know what I mean? Where they live and the neighborhoods and the culture of those places. And it feels like in the last sort of decade, it's got way, way worse. Like we've massively gone backwards. And I think that's the plan. It's to get people arguing about the little things instead of focusing on the big things, which is a fucking scary globalist cabal of Teutonic German cunts who want to take over the entire world by stealth. That's what it seems like to me. You know what I mean? And that's why they like it. They love a bit of sectarian infighting or blacks and whites having a barney, because they don't want people to say, hang on a sec, why the fuck am I living in a cube eating cricket paste while John Kerry's on a private jet getting a gobble off a child prostitute and eating a fucking fillet steak? It just seems like it's a little bit hypocritical.
There's somebody sent me something the other day, and it was the full English accent. He's probably born here, but he wasn't white British. He was mixed race chap, and he's videoing himself, and he's going, and we're going down to get these fuckers out of this hotel. Bastards, and we don't want them here. Fucking pedophiles this and pedophiles that. And he says, everybody get down here now, you know. I started going.
That wasn't John Lawrence, was it? Oh,
No,
sorry,
it
Rex.
wasn't John. No,
Oh,
no, John Lawrence doesn't swear as much.
no, he's a fucking solid patriot, John. He's a good fella.
Yeah. And I'm sort of sitting there going, and you're looking at this guy and you're thinking to yourself, hold on. But Matt talks about this all the time, growing up in Middlesbrough and having one kid was Asian, one kid was African or something, you know, and they grew up together, and that the African guy was as Middlesbrough as him. They supported the same team, they've drunk in the same bars, they've done this, that, and the other. But that's in a small minority. That's just one guy. Now, if you look at a picture of a school in England, it's like Spot the White Kid.
Yeah.
And you make a great point, Booty. You only have to go and show them your dad's school photo, and because they want to tell you it's always been like this.
Oh, lunacy! Yeah, well, but that's right out of 1984, isn't it? They just lie about history, get rid of all the books. They will argue you're on a straight face. The reason I made a post about that was because I wrote a Quora answer about it. I wrote a lengthy piece on Quora about some moron who was saying that Scotland was full of black people. So I got the census data and I said Scotland wasn't full of fucking black people in the 1990s. Like the census data from Scotland in the 90s, it was like 99% ethnically, Scottish or British. And these people will lie with a straight face. They'll go on the telly on fucking BBC or The Guardian, and they'll write fluff pieces about, the black man who was in King Henry's court or something. And it was like, we've got the census data. We've got the census data. Like the UK was as homogenous as Japan in like 1950. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It was 99% ethnically homogenous in the 1950s. And now they'll fucking tell you, 1770 fucking 3 in Leeds, it looked like the fucking Cosby Show. It's fucking ridiculous. But they're shameless. The shameless.
Netflix will allow you to believe that anyway, won't they?
I know, but to see, this is the thing I'm getting at. I'm probably not as right wing as you three. I'm not. I still don't consider myself to be a right wing person. I'm a nationalist, but I don't think that's a dirty word. And I'm socially liberal. So my issue with the colour thing is, I'm happy for people from other places to be in the UK as long as you trickle them in, because it worked for me. Like one kid in my class was Indian. So because he's the only kid in the class that's Indian, he was sound as a fucking pound. He's a friend of mine. Because when we grow up, he talks like me. He's got my accent. He supports the borough. He is 100% indoctrinated into our way of life, because that's how humans are. But it stops working once you fucking hit double figures. Once you get 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the school year, then they'll do what humans do and they'll make the little click. And then when you do, and then you end up with hundreds coming. You get your Molenbeeks and you get your Brad Alabads and Manchalabad, where you've got fucking hundreds of them. And again, and I never have a go at anyone for it. It's human nature. If you go and live in like a foreign country, if Ragz moved to Japan and he's there on his own, within a year he'll speak all right Japanese, because you fucking have to. Human beings, we're like water. We take the easiest route. And if you're surrounded by Egyptians in fucking Middlesbrough, you'll just carry on speaking Egyptian and you'll keep an Egyptian culture. But I do think, which is, probably in stark contrast to mega right-wing people, I do think you can make a slightly multicultural society work. But again, I'm talking about 1980s levels of immigration. I haven't got a problem with it. I have got a problem with mass immigration.
I would say that it's nationalism, it doesn't have to be for right-wing people. And if a person tries to advocate for nationalism, and then as soon as the person they're talking to takes an interest, realizes that there's this long list of other right-wing beliefs you're expected to take on board, it's not sellable. It's not attractive. It's like, suddenly you've got to basically divorce yourself from all the blacks or gays you know. It's like, no, that's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like, especially when you've met blacks who do appreciate this country, or like Indians, like the guy you said, like, especially when you've met people who appreciate this country, right? It's a terrible mistake to start threatening their place in it, or to say, or to ridicule the idea that they do appreciate it or anything like that. So yeah, it's the less that we make it this massive wedge of beliefs that you've all got to take on at once, the better. The more you just make it a thing that anyone living in Britain can share, except, of course, the hostile people. Obviously, we shouldn't accommodate for them. Yeah, but people who have integrated, who appreciate the place, yeah, it's crazy to freeze them. Same as if you say, like, oh, to be a real nationalist, you've got to be against, homosexuality or whatever. It's like, yeah, but loads of people know or are related to or are friends with someone who's gay. Like, so it's just it's a terrible mistake to make them feel like nationalism is threatening to that. So anyway, sorry, I'm going on a bit. But
Trump was right, wasn't he? Because he famously said, "I'm a nationalist." It's not a dirty word being a nationalist. It's a dirty word being an extremist. But the point is, 99 out of every 100 people now get called far right or a right wing nationalist or a white nationalist. They aren't. You get varying degrees of nationalism and varying degrees of right wing, but the vast majority of people, I don't think I've ever met anyone who, if you met my mate who was born and raised in Borough, but his parents happened to legally migrate from India in the early 80s, would be like, oh my God, get him out because he's a different colour. Almost nobody thinks that anymore. It's a misnomer. Most people think if you are a British patriot, you actually love this country and the people that live there, that you are capable of thinking that if your parents came from fucking Karachi. It's possible. People's issues is with what is the far left. It's not the centre left, it's the far left, which is that we can absorb hundreds of thousands of foreign migrants every year, and we fucking can't.
Millions now.
Yeah, it's past 1 million now, which is ludicrous. All people like me have ever said is we should go back to the same immigration levels we had in the 1980s. And you say that now to a Guardian reader and you're a fucking Nazi. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, I haven't got to say much to a Guardian reader.
I get angry about it though, because like I said, people like
Hitler drank water. Yeah, I drink water.
Yeah,
so that's their mentality.
It just genuinely annoy me though, being a chippy northerner, because we were the fucking backbone. Like Yorkshire's the biggest county in the UK. We were the people who did half the fucking scrapping. Both my grandparents, my granddad Fred and my granddad Byron, were both on the front in the Second World War. Both of them, they fought the fucking Nazis, and they tell us stories about the Nazis on the knee when we're little kids. And then you grow up and you get called a Nazi by some fucking twat like Owen Jones. And it's like, hang on, we actually did some work, you cunt. You know what I mean? Proper British patriots.
Matt, you
fought the
have
Nazis.
on for Owen Jones.
I hate him.
You have a rage boner for him.
Said I hate him so much, I wouldn't be that bothered if we got nuked, because as long as that cunt is in the fucking blast with me, I'll die with an erection. That is how much I hate him. But that's why, because like I said, you take it personally. Like no people, it's like Winston Churchill. That's why I got round up and I made a video about that twat. And they're trying to pull down the Churchill statues. Like, if you had to pick a single man who stood firm against Hitler in the Second World War, it was Churchill. And now they're calling him all fucking kinds of names. Like people have literally said Churchill is worse than Hitler. That's what people have said, because they've said, oh, yeah, Hitler only killed like Jews and really they're white, whereas the Indians who Churchill purposely murdered, therefore Churchill's worse than Hitler. And it's like, hang on, the Bengal famine was caused because all the places that used to feed the Bengalis were occupied by the fucking Japanese and wouldn't sell us any grain. And the Bay of Bengal was full of fucking Japanese submarines, and it was impossible to get fucking supplies to them. But there's literal letters of him writing to the Viceroy of India saying we need to feed these fucking people. But they lie about history and they make out like he's worse than Adolf. And it makes me sick when they call people like me a Nazi, or they call people like Churchill worse than Hitler. They're just fucking pissing in my face and telling me it's raining, burning books, lying about history. You're fucking worms. Anyway, you get me wound up talking about Owen Jones. I fucking hate it.
But Bootneck, you didn't know that? They didn't have famines in India until the 1940s. That was it was unheard of. But obviously, like the existence of Britain caused the very first famine in history to occur in Bengal in the 1940s. So yeah, we they never had shortages of food until then. But yeah, I said to a guy the other day, like there is a case to be made against Churchill from the right, but the left-wing case against Churchill is ludicrous. Like, they're just grabbing at straws. They want to hate him because they think the right like him.
I'm sure with Churchill, I don't even know with regards to the famine. We could probably talk about that more because I'm not a fucking professional historian. I've just read like
Sorry,
one book.
You know, I
about
was
Churchill.
joking. You know, I was being sarky there, right?
All right, okay. I thought it was. I thought you were going to make a nebulous. I thought you were going to make a nebulous point about him.
No, I have to tell it dry because it's not
Right.
funny otherwise.
Fair enough. No, I thought it was going to be a point about the fact that India wasn't a unified country until the British got there, really. Do you know what I mean? Because it was literally like fucking 50 warring tribes. And the empire builders, like I'm a fucking staunch redcoat, right? Basically, the empire builders' argument for India and being good, Britain being good for India, is that essentially they would have all just continued kicking each other's fucking asses if we hadn't have turned up and unified the country. Sort of like the Chinese did, because it was all these warring states. And then you get a badass motherfucker and he makes a whole country out of it. I thought it was going to be a point of that. I didn't.
No. It's almost like as you said, like in them, you know, in many of the countries colonized, like Britain walked into a situation and basically joined one side of a war and was welcomed by that side. Yeah, and that's almost that's the case in almost every case. Yeah. And
the simplistic thing is, it's always we're the cunts. And when you read about these places, you go, no, not really. Like you were all twatting each other endlessly. And then basically India is now a united country because of the British. If we hadn't turned up, it'd probably be about fucking 15 different nation states all twatting each other all the time. So there's pros and cons to the empire. Again, I'm not saying that we didn't do some fucked up stuff, or Churchill didn't, right? He got plenty of things wrong. But I'm just saying, you don't have to make shit up. If they were honest about things that Churchill got wrong, I wouldn't mind it so much, but just fully making shit up. Saying that he wanted to kill, that he did it on purpose.
They just see how much people like the Tories and Margaret Thatcher and stuff loved Winston Churchill, and that's their reason to want to just find anything.
It's their trigger, isn't it? It's triggering.
Yeah, whatever they can use against him, they'll just grab it. They'll just say he killed millions of Indians. He didn't. That's ridiculous, but
yeah, cunt.
Right, have we video for you guys? I want to get your take on it.
Yep. Far away, boy.
Lads, I might need to go after that. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, Horse, mate.
Cool.
Did you see my video defending Shamima?
Is it this Ukraine war a bit strange?
No, not yet.
I wonder how it all started. Just look at this mug behind me. This is the leader of the Ukraine politics over there. This is the man that's telling you to give him more money. He wants more weapons. He wants more aid. He wants this, that, and the other. And this is the man that's
surely that's not him.
The Americans to ramp up the war in Russia. Now, I haven't got the footage, but there is footage of him allegedly playing the piano with his old boy. Okay. Do you not see there's something a bit suspect here? I mean, this is supposed to be the happily married man and the clean, wholesome cut man with wife and children. This video does not look like the actions of a married man, unless he's got a very, very interesting marriage. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
I love that. I can't believe that's real. Have you got footage of him getting bummed by Elton John as well?
Oh, that'd be great. But no, I've seen him play. He's on some, because he was a comedian, wasn't he? That's essentially what he was, right? He was a comedian playing, and he was in a program about a comedian that became the president.
Yeah,
we know that, right? That's what weird, huh? How art imitated life there. But
and it was a massive hit, wasn't it? And that's partly why he ran for president, because it was so popular.
Yeah, because he became popular. Yeah.
Also,
so there is
billions of dollars behind him as well. That was the other thing.
Yeah, yeah, it might be the one thing. But there is. I've seen the footage of him on some sort of entertainment show called, for lack of a better word, I don't know what passes for entertainment in Ukraine, but he's there, like playing the piano supposedly with his thingy. So that's out there as well, Booty. Yeah,
is that the Puff channel on Bent TV or what?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
The Puff show, sorry.
Simon Sideways is actually, he didn't show the video, but he says the video's out there to watch of him playing a piano with his charger.
You know, it's out. I've seen it on other streamers playing it.
I miss the good old days in the 90s when Euro trash was the most deviant shit you'd see on telly.
Yeah, load of Ferrari.
What did you call that guy? Louis Theroux. Went to all the weird places.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Louis Theroux. Yeah.
Big fan of that.
All the deviants, all the sexual deviants on the planet. He was there.
He's a wet lefty himself, Louis Theroux, but I do like him. He's got that sort of amiable personality where he gets people to say a lot of shit that they wouldn't normally. When he's dead good at like coaxing out of them because he seems likable.
If anyone's interested, on my Odyssey channel, me and Urba Durba it's a bit of a peculiar subject, but we did a 3-hour-long chat about when Louis Theroux met Keith Harris. I don't know if anybody wants to see that. It's on my Odyssey.
You can drop that in the private chat and I'll share it on screen.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to drop your Odyssey channel link, Horus, mate, feel free, mate. Plug away.
Nice one. But yeah, I find the Louis Theroux a really interesting phenomenon, because he's someone who, like, say Keith Harris, that was kind of like old entertainment, right? You know, that's really quite innocent. You know, like we're talking about Orville and
Orville. I remember.
Yeah, the monkey. I never liked it when I was a kid. I wasn't into the ventriloquism or something, but it was like really old, good-natured, like just make everyone smile, laugh, you know, sort of entertainment, like nothing cynical about it. Louis Theroux himself represents something more postmodern, something a bit more cynical, a bit more of a wink to the camera. Do you know what I mean? A little bit more, questioning everything. And when he met Keith Harris was such an innocent person for a middle-aged man. So he's dead now, right? But he was so uncynical. He didn't see Louis Theroux coming at all. And Louis Theroux himself kind of bridges the two things, like the old entertainment and the new. Anyway, that's what we chatted about, and I thought it was for such a niche subject. I thought it was quite an interesting thing. Anyway, yeah. So oh, nice one. Yeah, it's on there. It's chat with Urba Durba. So it's good to meet you, Bootneck, and Ragz and Jackz. Thanks for having me on.
No, brilliant. Thanks for coming on, Horus, mate.
I saw you.
Enjoyed it. And Bootneck, did you say you've got a channel, Bootneck? Because I'll subscribe to that. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah.
He'll point it away. Look me up.
Nice one. All right, lads. Cheers. Have a good evening.
Mate.
Good night, Horus, mate. Take care, mate, buddy.
I agree with Horus there. I never liked, even when I was a wee, I never liked ventriloquists. I remember being like 8 and thinking, this is just a fucking bloke, mate, with his hand up a fucking puppet's ass. Like, I didn't like it when I was a child.
No, I didn't quite have it. You know, especially like because it was still crossed over with those old-fashioned fucking look demonic. You know, you'd go to the seaside and people would still be like, you know, using them and everything like that. Yeah, horrible things.
I think I was matured fast, though. That's why I swear so much, because my dad didn't care. Like, you know, I had a single dad and he didn't give a fuck what I listened to or watched. So, like, when I was about 8 or 9, I used to listen to his Chubby Brown tapes on his, like, cassette player when he was out.
Oh,
and I remember he did one taking the piss out of Orville. I remember because he's like, sometimes Keith puts his cock in me, like taking the piss out of Orville. And so that was funny, but Orville wasn't.
You saying you're listening to like sort of naughty or blue tapes? Marman had the Derek and Clive albums, if you remember them. Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, when they used to get in, just sit in the studio, get pissed out their head, and then just riff. But it's some of the funniest stuff you've ever heard. But it shouldn't have been for a 9-year-old.
No, I used to watch it also.
And then I'm going around saying it and getting a clip round the ear off the mother.
Yeah, I seen Deliverance when I was about 11, and I remember going, "Fuck me!" Like that. I was definitely too young for that. Yeah, and then ironically, I used to tell this to people when I was working out in Alabama, because I ended up out there working for a while. And I used to tell people, you know, when I was a kid, I seen Deliverance and swore I was never going to America. And I said, no, I'm fucking where they filmed it. That's where all the hillbillies live out in Alabama.
Here's one for you, gentlemen, I want to get your opinion on. Share.
Well, we're only on for about another 5-6 minutes anyway, Matty boy.
Well, it's late there, isn't it?
Island Protocol.
Now, the Prime Minister held a conference call for cabinet ministers and is expected to make a statement to the House of Commons tomorrow.
Well, the Irish Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, said the deal between Great Britain and Northern Ireland was inching towards a conclusion. But what could that conclusion look like for Northern Ireland? Well, here to talk to us this morning is Brexit campaigner Suzanne Evans. And down the line, we've got political commentator Dr. John Coulter. Good morning to you both, and thank you both for your company. Suzanne, I'm going to start with you. How optimistic is it for us to think that deal on the table by Monday?
Well, I think everybody, of course, wants to be optimistic about this. I mean, we've had a stalemate in the Northern Ireland government for many years now as a result of this issue. Nobody wants to threaten the Good Friday peace agreement. It's going to be a very difficult deal to pull off. You've got to please the DUP, you've got to please the EU, you've got to please the European Reform Group, a group of Tory backbenchers. There are rumours this morning that the Northern Ireland Minister, Steve Baker, is on a resignation watch. It's going to be a very difficult one to pull off. There are so many legal issues here, there are so many emotional issues. So it'd be very interesting. Obviously, Rishi Sunak and Number 10 are trying to say that this deal is practically done. They can please all sides. There's certainly a lot of talk about, positive talk about it. But ultimately, we've got to wait and see. It looks like the announcement might be tomorrow. Apparently, Conservative MPs have been...
They've totally fucking...
It runs on a bit there, but you get the gist of it. So...
yeah. Go on, Matty.
They've totally stitched up Northern Ireland. I mean, at the end of the day, they always were never negotiating in good faith, and the British government were just completely ridiculous to sign up to all this shit. And they need to just fucking rap on it. Is it the end of the world if we break a fucking treaty? I don't see why. Like the Icelandic bankers got on all right when they didn't pay anyone the money back. 10 years later, they're doing all right. I think which time we just said, here, fuck yous. That sort of protocol, the Northern Ireland protocol, just needs to go in the fucking bin. It's just a complete stitch-up. And I don't know why they agreed to it in the first place. I've told you what my theory is. I think my theory is the plan, because none of the Tories wanted to leave either. None of the House of Lords wanted to leave. 99% of them didn't want to leave. The bankers didn't want to leave. The billionaires didn't want to leave. The politicians didn't.
Corporatists.
They've done all of this, so we fuck everything up. And in a couple of years' time, they'll put us back in the EU. They'll ask us the question, you want to go back in the EU? And everyone will go, yeah, definitely. Immigration's got worse since we've left the EU. How the fuck's that happened? But it has, because they've done it on purpose.
And Matty, we'll only be allowed in with caveats attached as well.
Yeah, they've done it on purpose.
Yeah.
The Tories have fucked it up on purpose. The fact that immigration is far worse than it ever was in the EU will make a lot of normies who don't pay too much attention go, you know what, we should just go back in the EU. And the fact is, they're doing it on purpose because they know that that's what will get us back in the EU. The normies will go, right, it's gone tits up, we haven't made it work, we have to go back in the EU. They've done it on purpose. They've fucked it up on purpose.
Paranormal, they're saying that the world's problems are not ours. And she says, no offence. I totally agree with you, love. They're not our problem. They shouldn't be here. Apparently, we have 100,000 in hotels at the minute in the asylum system.
It's fucking
apparently, we have over 2 million illegals living here. That's not including the ones that's coming on the dinghies every day.
Yeah. And that's my point I was making with Al Shammy. I made a video, go watch it. I just put it up about an hour ago because I've changed my mind on Al Begsy. I was taking
the big bum.
Yeah, I was taking a piss out of her for months. And then I really sat and read about it. And I thought, you know what? That's what they're doing. It's a distraction. They're getting us all talking about Begsy. So we think we've got to win. One fucking person. So right-wingers, conservatives go, yeah, get in. Fuck her. She's not coming back.
It's a pressure valve.
She was born and raised in the UK. And because we're so angry about the fact that we've let millions of cunts who shouldn't be here in the first place, they've given us that as a fuck. There you go. Slipped us a Mickey, and everyone's going, yeah, we showed her. She should be back in the UK, and about 2 million daft cunts should be getting deported. That's what should be happening with Begs. 100%. Because people like us three have always said, you can't let kids make decisions. You can't let fucking 15-year-olds vote. You can't let 15-year-olds fucking change the gender. You can't let this, you can't do that. And then on this one, we're all going, oh, yeah, fuck her. She made a bed. She has to lie in it. She was 14 when she got groomed, lads. I've changed my fucking mind. She should be back in and just go through the courts and whatever happens. But she should be let back in because she was born and fucking raised here. And we should be aggressively deporting the millions of cunts who weren't. I think this is just a pressure valve to trick us into thinking they actually do something about immigration when they aren't.
No, I totally agree. But the fact is, they could use the same laws that they're using to keep her out. To keep
exactly.
You know,
there's literally millions. We should have the Navy patrolling the fucking channel. We should have total lockdown, and there's 500,000 people who I bet the Home Office could put their hands on in a week and fucking deport. Didn't come here legally. Weren't born here, broke laws, living without a fucking green card or whatever it is. There's hundreds of thousands of them. We could get shot of them in a week. And
Do you think we should offer the French a load of bootnecks to patrol the actual beaches and police it properly?
Fuck the French. We should do it ourselves.
Godfrey Bloom, get the SAS on their beaches.
I told you though, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. But we'll be. I'm black-pilled, I know, but we'll be back in the EU within 10 years. I fucking guarantee it. They've made a pig's ear of Brexit on purpose. We haven't got Brexit. We've got Brexit on paper. So
in name only.
Total pig's ear of it. How do you let 1 million immigrants in a fucking year? With the Royal Navy's more than amply sized to lock the channel down. You could do that job with 1,000 men, 1 commando unit, 5 ships, and about 20 drones. You could have the channel on fucking lockdown. There wouldn't be, if they really put some effort in, a single migrant wouldn't have come ashore from fucking France, not one. So it's bollocks. They're fucking making a pig's ear of it on purpose. And in a couple of years' time, they're going to go, we tried our best, but Brexit hasn't worked. We were better off in. Let's go back in. And all the normies will go, brilliant. Let's rejoin the EU. They're fucking up on purpose.
As you say, Matty, they never wanted to leave. They didn't expect us to vote.
No. You had the 2 populist things they didn't expect to happen, right? Brexit and Trump.
Yeah, and this is what, and like I said, and this is another one that really irritates me about them just blatantly lying, because these necky bastards go on the telly now on Twitter, middle-class Guardian readers and BBC journalists, and say all the rich tricked the working classes into voting for Brexit. It was all the rich were Remainers. 99 out of every 100 politicians was a Remainer. All the big bankers were Remainers. All the big corporations were Remainers. It was a fucking upper and middle class wankers project to stay in. And it was actual working class people who wanted to leave. Yeah, I did see that on the BBC earlier as well, yeah. That's what these left-wing Guardian readers are encouraging as well. Human trafficking, people dying in the ocean unnecessarily. Yeah. No, it's piss take. Does me head in. Absolute bollocks. So who cares? Who cares? We're going back in, lads. You best lube up and grab your ankles, because in 5 years we'll be Guy Verhofstadt will be dug up. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah. We'll be conkers deep.
Exactly.
All right, Ragz, I'll let you wrap the show up, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Matt. It was nice surprise, bud.
Oh yeah, cheers, lads. Thanks for having me
on. Horus on. Wanted Horus for a way.
Yeah, thank you, Horus, mate.
Matt's always a legend. We were talking about doing a monthly thing with Matt, because we enjoy his rants.
Sunday mornings usually I'm free, so yeah, we can do it again soon.
Yeah, we'll get you on. I'll get you on WhatsApp, Matty. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening tonight, watching tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed listening to what Horus had to say, and surprise Bootneck coming on as well for a chat. So, Ragz, I'll let you roll credits, mate.
Yeah, well, I do have an Irish councilwoman.
Okay, he does have an Irish councilwoman. Well, don't let us keep you.
a Northern Irish councilwoman, a real Ulster paper, coming on next week.
Yes, sorry, yes, plug. Sorry, I thought.
And somebody's saying get Tola back on. So,
Tola, we'll have Tola back on soon as well. We do like recurring guests. You know, you build a relationship with them going forward. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a good thing.
We're looking from another gentleman from the north of England too. We're looking at getting him on. So we have a few interesting people lined up.
Next week should be interesting. Yeah, Jolene Bunting. Yeah, she's been suspended from being an MP for her views, for her
She spoke
freedom of expression.
Matty, she spoke out against the followers of On Snack Bar.
Not allowed to do that.
No, you're not.
I'll be watching. I'm sure she's a reasonable lady.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I listened to her. I listened to a podcast with her a few days ago with my missus, and I couldn't. There's not much I could disagree with on her. She's just sensible, and logical, like you like, Matty. You know.
Aye, well, I'll be watching. Thanks for having me on then, lads. I'll see you in a week or two, I'm sure.
Yeah,
lovely. All right, take care. See you later, everyone.
Right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, all the support and all the likes, and the chat there has just been going 10 to the dozen. I can't really keep up with it. Yeah, I need to get really technical and like 9 or 10 screens around me.
You need a producer, Ragz. You need a producer. So if we talk about something, boom, they can get the information up on the screen there, just like you thought of it.
Yeah. Oh, same with Sideways. You see, he has set up this fucking monitors and freaking.
Oh God, yeah, it looks like the Starship bloody Enterprise control panel.
No, it's just missing Spock. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming and a great chat.
Did you ever see his? Just quickly, did you ever see that New Year's Eve stream Sideways was doing? And his mate had sent him a pizza, and when he opened up the box, they'd spelt out the word "cunt" in pepperoni. So he his mate had to ring up the shop and get him to do that. He didn't want to do it at first. He's a good crack. We'll have to. I think you're waiting to hear back from the Reverend anyway, aren't you?
Yes.
That's sorting the date out as well, so he'll be on as well.
Yeah, sure.
Right, that is time to go for me. So, good night, everyone.
Yep. Good night. God bless. Or in my case, Odin bless.